Hi, I'm Samantha, and for this week's discussion, I went a little deeper into the research on Holocaust education and why the Holocaust needs to be taught in schools more and the benefits it can have, and the best way to go about making an appropriate curriculum. Previously, I had briefly mentioned teaching age appropriate material, and in the Project Muse database, I looked at sources that discussed appropriate literature that can be used to teach children about the Holocaust and the different ways to utilize literature and children's literature to educate students. Naomi Sokoloff wrote an article titled The Holocaust and Literature for Children. And here she talks about how stories about children during the Holocaust can be historically educational and beneficial to educating students on the Holocaust. I once heard the phrase a while back working on a research paper, teaching children about children. And I can't remember where I'd heard that phrase from, but it was always something that stuck in my mind when I think about this topic and stuff. And it's the idea that children will understand the material they are being taught better if they are learning from the perspective of a similar age group. Sokolov then further goes into discussing how detailed should children's education be when learning the Holocaust, and if it can be harmful giving children too much detail on such a dark subject matter, or is it better to give them like the reality of what really happened? And then in another article by Naomi Sokolov, she discusses that children literature can be just as useful as adult literature. She stated, children's literature puts adult writing and critical debate into a new perspective, and it deserves more widespread recognition. And then in another source by Lillian Kramer, she takes a slightly different approach and talks about the focus of children's survivor stories and using those to teach children. So she takes more of the approach on teaching through the perspective of children and not so much of the age appropriate type material. So there are really two different paths that educators can take when teaching the Holocaust. And one is using the age appropriate material, and the second is using material that is centered around children in the Holocaust. It can be difficult. The Holocaust is a difficult topic to make a lesson plan around, and making sure that you are using proper material for your targeted audience. Thank you.